Morning, all of you beautiful nerds from around the world, and welcome to the morning stream here on the Den of Nerds Live, the very best way to start your nerdy day. On today's show, we got a spicy one. We got to talk about this rumor that Anakin Skywalker is going to be in the Obi-Wan show. Hayden Christensen returns to play Anakin Skywalker. We're going to talk about that, break down the report, give you my thoughts on how this should go down in the Obi-Wan show. Also going to talk a little bit about Sony and Marvel. An interesting thing happened yesterday, a little report from Jeremy Conrad, and I actually talked to him a little bit about this in that interview we did. Strange things are afoot at the Circle K, Ted. We had been speculating that Sony and Marvel might be working hand in hand. Well, something happened yesterday that kind of blew that up. Maybe not. Maybe not. We've got a bunch of beautiful nerds in the building. What's going on, everybody? Mr. D, Gray, Patrick, Trev, Star Wars, Santa, Maverick, Pilgrim, Crazed Panda, Quincy, Miller, Crichton Smith, Lucas, Captain Pennsylvania, Trinity's here, Marvel Maniac, Bill's here, Jennifer Cook, Music Major, Mike Porter, Harvey, Wu-Tang Wells, Freeman Cooper, Andrew Gates, Jacob Nixon, Alex. Oh, God. A lot of beautiful people. What is going on, everybody? How you doing this morning? I want to know how you all are doing. Guys, Friday. Can you believe we're 5 months into the year? We're almost halfway through 2020. And if you're like me, you're probably like, can we get to where we're all the way done with 2020? What a weird freaking year. But holy crap. I looked at, I was like, 5. We're in the 5th month. I just want to make sure we're in the 5th month of 2020. Interesting. Okay. All right. 2020. I see you. I see what you're doing. We spent 2 months or so indoors. Yeah, right? I know. Absolute craziness. Star Wars Santa says, I got up early this morning to watch the latest episode of the Mandalorian docu-series. Another great episode. I actually can't wait to check it out. I didn't get a chance to check it out yet, but I'm very excited to check it out. Micah, what's going on, man? Roll on, 2021. Yeah, no, let's get to 2021, man. That's what I'm more into. 100%. I was just like thinking about that. I was like, this is crazy. This is nuts, man. So bizarre. But we made it through another week, man. We made it through another week of this absolute ridiculous situation. And, of course, we're going to get right into it, guys. We're going to get right into it. I want to break down the news, and I want to get into my speculation. Also going to save a ton of time for Q&A today. I know when we have guests on, we don't always get into enough Q&A, and maybe you guys are feeling a little left out, but don't worry. Papa Josh got you. I got you. It's the craziest news of the day. Yo, this news is crazy. Yes, indeed, folks. According to LRM Online, don't really know much about them, to be honest. But according to them, they have reports that Anakin Skywalker is going to be in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and that Hayden Christensen himself is going to reprise his role. I'm going to read right from the article here, and then we break it on down. It says right here, our source shared with me that producers are currently in talks with Hayden Christensen to reprise his role as Anakin Skywalker in the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series. How big of the role is still being debated, so let the theories begin. My guess is that we would see Anakin in some sort of dream sequence that Obi-Wan would have. While this may sound crazy, this would not be the first time that Hayden Christensen was to return to this role. Remember, at the end of The Rise of Skywalker, we heard his voice in the Jedi sequences with Rey, okay? Our source mentioned that this would be, of course, neither confirmed nor denied by everyone at Disney and Lucasfilm, including Hayden. The plan to announce this news was going to happen at Star Wars Celebration, along with Rosario Dawson being cast as the live-action version of Ahsoka Tano. This makes sense as to why Star Wars Celebration has not been canceled yet. So Star Wars Celebration has not been canceled yet. That is really interesting. Chet, also, look, man, this image here, this website browser here, stupid. You know, I'm not going to start. I'm trying not to start immediately on you. But this is ridiculous. I'm looking at here on the screen. What do we have? We have the freaking tap your age bullcrap. We have the LRM Online at the top. You can see you can see Hayden Christensen's forehead. I know. I get it. No, I know the software doesn't always work. But in that case, put an image up there. You're getting really close, man. That's one. That's one today, okay? And I don't know what you and Ryan have been doing. Something, I don't like it. Okay, get back into the setting. Can you put the music on at least? Thank you. Okay, so here's the deal, folks. I got to be real with you guys. Let's talk about Hayden Christensen. I got some thoughts, man. Before we get into this, and perhaps doing what I'm about to do will take the edge off and allow this to be less ranty and be more positive. You know, we try to keep it positive around here. So allow me to take a little sip of my official organic coffee, Taylor Lane, official coffee of the morning streams here on the Den of Nerds Live. Go to taylorlane.com and use the code NERDS10 at checkout for 10% off. Let me take a little sip of this, take the edge off. You know, this is delicious coffee, but I'm still kind of upset. Okay, my first thought here is, what? So you're telling me that Lucasfilm's plan is to put Hayden Christensen in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, but not put him in the end of the Skywalker saga? And, you know, look, this voice thing, at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. I'm going to be real, guys. I'm going to be real. I like The Rise of Skywalker. I hold by that. I still like The Rise of Skywalker. But I'm having trouble getting past the logic here. It's the end of the Skywalker saga. Palpatine's back, the chosen one. And they can't find a way to put him in there. It's not working for JJ's vision or whatever. I don't know, man. I don't know. I have trouble accepting the fact that they can't put Hayden Christensen into The Rise of Skywalker, and they decide to put him into the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Now, having said that, I'll save a little bit more of my complaints about that for a little bit later on. Let's speculate about this. Lest we forget, the first time since the end of Revenge of the Sith and the high ground moment, the first time that those two meet each other again is on the Death Star in A New Hope. I feel something, a presence I have not felt since. And he just walks away. So, there are only a couple of ways, without breaking canon, that Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker can even be in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Number one, and I think the most fascinating, the most interesting way that they could do this is if Hayden Christensen is actually in the suit. He's Vader. You know, that we see Vader at the end of the Clone Wars, right? When he picks up Ahsoka's lightsaber and you can see his eyes and whatnot. We see Vader in the second season of Rebels when he gets the part of his helmet blasted. And you can actually see Hayden Christensen. You can't see Hayden Christensen, but you can see Anakin behind the mask. In the early days of roasted Anakin, young Anakin in the suit, that's a really interesting time. I don't think we have enough of that in canon. It would be really interesting if we got to see Hayden Christensen in the suit as a young, more or less, Darth Vader. But here's the problem with that. It's not a Darth Vader show. It's an Obi-Wan Kenobi show. So how are they even going to do that? You know what I mean? I'm having trouble understanding how that would work. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just having trouble seeing how that would work. But that's one way that they could do it. The other way they could do it, of course, is with a flashback or a force-back vision. I think this is probably the safest bet. I think potentially one of the really cool things. Chet, this music is just killing my mood here. Can we just put something a little more? There we go. That's a little more Star Warsy for me. Oh, yeah, that's nice. The flashback thing is probably a safe bet. It would be really interesting to see some more intimate moments between those two, some fleshed out moments, maybe more moments of them talking about Tatooine, talking about their family and stuff like that, right? Maybe a moment where Anakin admits to Obi-Wan that he'll never come back to Tatooine or something like that, right? That could work. Now, a force-back vision is a really interesting one, too, because that sort of allows you to get a little weirder with it and have it not so much just be a memory, but be something else that's impactful. Okay? Now, the third, and I think the best version, is actually what they talk about in the article. Some kind of a dream sequence or some kind of a sequence in which you have Obi-Wan actually having a conversation with Anakin about what is going on in the galaxy, what is going on with Vader. Potentially Hayden Christensen saying stuff like, I will find you. And this secret you think you're holding out from me, I will discover it. And I will destroy you. You know what I mean? Some stuff like that. I think that would be the most intriguing. It would be pretty freaking awesome. And the thing is, of course I want Hayden Christensen back as Anakin Skywalker. Of course I do. I think it would be fantastic. My problem is, once again, and I'm trying to be as positive as I can here. I really am. But once again, it kind of feels like putting the cart before the horse. Or just in general, screwing things up. I'm sorry, but it kind of feels like a kick in the balls. We talked about at great length here on the channel. We talked about it at great length how important it would be to have Anakin Skywalker in The Rise of Skywalker. All the logical weight as far as where you would put Anakin would lead me to believe you put him at the end of the saga, The Rise of Skywalker. Put him in there. It feels so weird for them to end the saga and then do Obi-Wan and say, hey, let's bring Hayden Christensen back for this. You know, that time period in canon where they clearly had no communication. That time period in canon where Obi-Wan is completely hidden on Tatooine, obviously because we can't break canon. Vader doesn't know about that. He doesn't know about the children. That's the perfect place to put Anakin Skywalker. It's like, what? We get Anakin Skywalker back in live action after the sequel trilogy wraps up and after the Skywalker saga is over. We get really good Star Wars games and the announcement of more great Star Wars games after the sequel trilogy is over, after the buzz and the hype had exploded. We got terrible Star Wars games during the time period in which Star Wars was at its height in the 2015, 2016, and kind of trickling on down into The Rise of Skywalker. During that time period, we got terrible Star Wars games. Now we're getting good Star Wars games? You know what I mean? And it just reminds me of the complaint about the High Republic, where it's like, this planning sounds awesome. It sounds like you guys doing a ton of planning. Sounds like you're really connecting this ish together. Why didn't you do that in the sequel trilogy? And it's weird, man. It's weird. Like, it just it feels like to me, like, I honestly don't know. And you guys know, if you've been watching me for any amount of time, you guys know I have had some serious complaints about the PR side of Lucasfilm. I just really, it just baffles the mind. It baffles the mind. And I don't understand the decision making. That's just me. Like, I don't understand the decision making. Now, I feel like I have to, preface this and talk about all these different things. Like, oh, I still love Star Wars. I obviously love Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I can't wait to check out that Mandalorian documentary. I'm super excited for the Mandalorian Season 2. If you're, if you get, let's call it butthurt, because I look at these things in a way and I just scratch my head, I mean, I don't know what to do for you. I'm not a hate monger. I'm not a anti-Star Wars guy. I'm just a fan, man. I'm just a fan. And I can't help but view these things and just be confused by them. I'm confused. So, if that causes you some kind of pain because I feel that way, honestly, get the fuck over it. Honestly. Just get over it, please. So that's my thoughts, man. That's my thoughts on the Hayden Christensen thing. It's honestly hard for me to get excited about it. Number one, it's a rumor. We don't know. We don't know for sure. But also, it just feels like such... It just feels like such the wrong move, dude. Like, what? Where are the people advising people at Lucasfilm? Where are the people saying, like, I'd probably put Anakin Skywalker there and not over here. But that's just my thoughts on it. Now, look, we'll get into Q&A, and I am interested in what everybody has to think about this. I am. I want to know what everybody has to say about this. But Chet, put me on the big screen. Let's shift topics. Let's shift into some Spider-Man stuff, man. So this is kind of an interesting thing. You guys remember when we interviewed Jeremy Conrad? I believe it was last week. Yeah, last week. I had asked him specifically about one thing that made me believe that Sony and Marvel were playing nice. When all of the Marvel stuff got pushed back even further, when all the Marvel stuff got pushed back even further because of Spider-Man 3, it was really confusing because they gave Spider-Man 3 a Marvel date. Okay? And it appeared that they were giving another Marvel date in 2022, which was going to be the Blade movie, or at least that was the big rumor, that it was the Blade. That's when they were going to put Blade. And Into the Spider-Verse 2 has that date now. And I asked Jeremy when he was on the show, I was like, hey, man, what do you make of all this? I mean, they gave Marvel or Sony. Yeah, Marvel gave Sony 2 different dates. They gave them the original, I believe it was the Doctor Strange date. And then they gave them the date in 2022 with Into the Spider-Verse. And Jeremy said, well, Marvel technically still has a movie slated for that date in 2022. So they didn't give that date to Sony. Sony has that date, but so does Marvel. And he said, we'll know very soon whether or not Marvel is dropping that movie from their date. Now, it can change. They can do it again. They could drop that date. But the information came out, I believe, yesterday that they have not dropped that date. So it looks as though Marvel and Sony are going to go head-to-head with Into the Spider-Verse in a Marvel production in October of 2022. And the impression I got from Jeremy when I was talking to him was that Sony and Marvel are not playing nice in the way that we think they are. Feige wants Spider-Man. Maybe a little bit of Norman is part of his big motivation, but that's pretty much it, dude. You know? Venom fighting the Avengers, that ain't happening. Stuff coming over from Sony, that ain't happening. Morbius and Blade working together, that ain't happening. Like, I think we need to recalibrate and just realize that, like, the only thing that this whole deal hinges upon and the only thing that's going to happen with these characters, it all has to do with Spider-Man. It has to do with the Tom Holland Spider-Man and Feige's desire to have that character in his universe. And that's pretty much it. So I was starting to get a little hyped, man. I maybe jumped the gun, maybe read a little too far into what I thought was going on. So I want to walk that back. I no longer believe that it's all gravy, baby, when it comes to Sony and Marvel. I just can't. And, you know, particularly that conversation I had with Jeremy and the fact that Marvel is keeping this date here. Of course, there's a relationship there because they technically have a contract. But they're not going to combine their universes into this big fluid thing that we wanted to do, right? So, unfortunately, probably got to just kind of curb our expectations, I guess, for that and just realize that, well, you know, Sony's going to be Sony, and we'll just have to keep an eye on them, man. And if they're screwing up real bad, like I said, the best-case scenario is that they don't screw up and things are great. The worst-case scenario is that they screw up and then Marvel gets Spider-Man back likely anyways. So, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that. And I want to do a bunch of Q&A now. I want to do a bunch of Q&A. Did I upset too many people with my thoughts about Star Wars? I don't know. Let's go through the chat. That documentary second show will give you the feels. I'm sure it will, man. I'm sure it will. Ahsoka mentions Sith stealing Force-sensitive babies during the Clone Wars during a Rebels episode. Did I miss that Clone Wars episode? I don't remember it. You know, honestly, that I don't remember that as well. I don't remember that, man. Will, that's interesting stuff, though. It's funny that you say that. It feels so similar to something I'm writing in my fan fiction. RG says, well, it's like you have said before, Josh. They should have never advertised that Episode 9 was the end of the Skywalker saga. I agree. I think that was a pretty big mistake. I got over that one. I mean, I had my cycle of mourning. But, yeah. Let's see here. Trev says, maybe Hayden was a weird contract with more money for another on-screen appearance. Well, okay, so that's actually fair, Trev. That's a fair take because there is a thing in the contracts, And I had this explained to me before, where I think it's like once you get to 4 different appearances, you do get extra back-end legacy points and things like that. So that could be a part of it. But, like, honestly, I'm so sick of, like, oh, well, the contract or the business side of things or this, that, and the other, like, affecting decisions in Hollywood. And, you know, honestly, I've been thinking a lot about, I don't know if you guys have been following this, but Josh Trank put out a really interesting article or an interview, or maybe it was just a statement, but he sort of pulls the curtain back on a lot of what's going on in Hollywood. And as I was reading it, man, I was like, not a happy camper, man. Like, literally talking about how the studio pays attention to what people say on Twitter. And they came to Josh and they were like, people on Twitter are freaking out because this Fantastic Four seems too dark. So we're going to spend $10 million making comedy stuff on this film. You know, comedy shoots, reshoots for comedy, writing for comedy. Let's inject some comedy because Twitter said so. And I'm like, what? I'm really like, especially with certain properties, like, you have to understand it's a weird thing. And I think businesses, this is why I kind of like the entertainment industry and why I really, really like this. It's like, I'm a fan of where business meets art meets people. How does that work together? Because things that you might think are good from the business perspective do not always work with art. And I think Star Wars is a great example of that. You know, Disney rushing the production out of this trilogy was obviously a bad business decision in hindsight, but it was made with business in mind. It was made by suits, bean counters, dollars and cents. But there's a side of that that just doesn't translate. It doesn't properly translate with the property itself. You have to understand the brand. You have to understand the thing that you have. And so, yeah, you can make business-minded decisions. In fact, you're obligated to make business-minded decisions. But you have to understand that different properties are different fan bases are different. It's like, if you make snacks and soda, okay? And the snacks and soda are delicious, they're cheap, they get people addicted to them, but they also cause diabetes and kill off your customer base, then you've made a short-term smart decision that will destroy your business in the long term. Businesses have to look past their proverbial noses and think macro. You know what I mean? So, like, that's one of my biggest disappointments with Star Wars is that I really feel like they, and maybe Disney is to blame for this more than Lucasfilm, but they treated it like a product more than like this coveted thing, this thing that people absolutely love on. You know what I mean? Jennifer says, I can't say I'm surprised. After the Spidey first fell apart, it seemed odd that the studios would suddenly play really nice. Yeah, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I think a lot of people wanted to assume that would be a much better relationship moving forward. I think that's really just our hopes, right? And when they came back together, we were like, oh, so nice. So nice that they're back together. But in all reality, it's like, yeah, they're still businesses. They're still going to look out for themselves and things like that. You know what I mean? What movie do you think will come out in that October 2022 slot for Marvel if they don't move? You know, I really don't know. The Blade was the big one, right? Blade was the one that a lot of people were like, oh, well, that's where you put Blade. It's perfect. October, Halloween vibes, Blade, and perhaps that's still the case. That would be pretty cool. Maybe Blade is actually going to be teaming up with the Midnight Suns. Maybe it's not just a Blade movie. Maybe it's Blade and the Midnight Suns, or something crazy like that. You know what I mean? And then we get the Ghost Rider, we get the Moon Knight. You know, we get some of those Midnight Suns. I think that would be dope. By the way, community stream tomorrow. Community stream tomorrow at noon. We will be talking and recasting, or fan casting, the Netflix Defenders and the Royal Inhuman family. We're going to recast them as a fan community tomorrow. So come on by the community stream tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time on this channel, and it's one of those things where you can literally come onto the stream yourself. You can come on. If you hate my take on the Anakin thing today, and you're like, I want to tell him to his face. Well, guess what? Tomorrow, even though that's not what we're talking about, you can come onto the stream, and I have no problem with you being like, I don't like it when you do that, Josh. I don't like it when you do that, and I'm going to let you know. And I don't know who this hypothetical person is that talks like this, but I'm looking forward to hearing from you. You let me know what you think. Morbius will tank. Venom 2 will do good, but the franchise will end up not liking it. But the fan base will end up not liking it as much. Sony will try to force the MCU connections to their movies, but their movies will fizzle out. Jacob's Quest says with the hot take. With the hot take. Hey, maybe. You know, honestly, you might be right. Another thing that happened, which I feel, again, it's been a weird week with like a lot of news, and it's like, well, what news do you cover? What do you want to do? What do you want to talk about? Another thing that came out was that the Into the Spider-Verse people pitched a thing to Sony with Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and Tom Holland. And Sony said it's too soon. Too soon. If anything, it's too late. Too soon? Like what? What? I don't understand, man. I don't understand. Yeah. I don't believe this Hayden scoop. I've never heard of this site, and as far as I know, no one else has corroborated this story. Jacob's Quest, that's a fair point. Everybody that I see reporting about it is reporting it as rumor. I don't know much about this site either, but we'll just see. You know? We'll just see. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I can't decide. Like, do I want it to be rumor? Of course I want Hayden Christensen in there. But again, it's like, You know what I'm thinking, guys? The more I'm thinking about this, the more I'm thinking that Star Wars should take a break. And they should probably not do another movie until 2022 or after. You know, they should just take a break and think about things and maybe do a few Disney Plus shows. You know, Mandalorian's pretty cool. You know, maybe just take a break from movies for a while and then let the fan base cool down, and then get back to it. But you know what? In all seriousness, too, like, until they come out and make some kind of a definitive statement about what the fuck is going on over there and what their plans are to do with Star Wars for the future, until they have that kind of a statement out there, I feel like every announcement they make is going to be side-eyed. You know? I feel like they haven't properly addressed what's going on. What's going on with the fan base? How are people feeling? I feel like they need to properly address that. And, you know, Adam and I talked about this when he was on. I believe we actually talked about this last week. But, like, it's really not Disney's style. Like, their style is not to come out and be like, okay, yeah, no, we screwed up. We're going to do better. That's not their style, and I get that. But I think until they address the fact that, yeah, there's things didn't go off perfectly, and there were some mistakes made, and they're looking to correct them. They love Star Wars. They love the Star Wars fans. Until they make that statement, it's going to be rough, dude. I feel like all of their announcements, honestly, I was going to do a hot take sometime this week, too, about how I think the Taika Waititi announcement was a bad idea. I really do think that the Taika Waititi announcement on May the 4th was a bad idea. I don't think they needed to do it. I think we're having a nice little Star Wars day. You know, nothing crazy was going on, but that's okay. You had the Mandalorian documentary series, amazing. The finale of the Clone Wars, amazing. And I think that, like, they just felt like they needed to do something. Like, dude, Chet, you got to stop me because honestly, I'm trying here, man. I'm trying. You know, I don't want to rage out, but it's like they're stuck 30 years ago in their mentality. Like this whole let's make an announcement. We got to put it out there, Taika. We signed him. Do you not understand that announcement is almost meaningless? The amount of things that Lucasfilm has announced, they're acting like DC. I'm trying, man. I'm trying here. The Taika announcement was fine, Josh. Nobody is raging about it. I don't know about that. I went into some of the places on the internet, Star Wars Santa, that actually have the most level-headed discussion and some forums and some ways of communication that are normally very positive on Star Wars. And I'm telling you that even some of the most positive Star Wars fans looked at the Taika Waititi announcement and were kind of like, I don't know about that. Like, I like Taika as a director. I actually borderline love Taika as a director, as a writer, as a creator. I think he's a creative force of energy. But I just don't think, like, considering where we are at, it's like read the room. Considering where we were at as a fan base, the announcement of Taika doing a Star Wars movie without any, like, other information. Like, here's the thing. If they had other information, if they came out and framed it in a way where we were like, here's the plan, here's what we're doing, here's what's going on. Oh, and by the way, Taika's going to fit into that formula, then I'm way better with it. But, like, dude, I like the finale of The Mandalorian, but that beginning scene with the stormtroopers, that was, like, on the edge for me. Where I was like, I like that scene. Never again, though. Well, that was a good scene. That was pretty funny. Don't ever do that again. Oh, it's kind of cute, man. Oh, the clicky things and the things, they can't shoot straight. They're having a funny conversation. That's hilarious. Never again. That's my feelings. I've watched the reaction, and I pride myself on being able to take a measurement of the fan base and where people are at with it. And I'm telling you, that Taika announcement didn't go over great. I think Taika Waititi fans are very happy about it. And honestly, his rise to prominence has been something to watch, man. It really has been. Like, it's been phenomenal. And, like, good on him. I'm so happy for him. Like, are you kidding me? He's, like, the biggest thing in the world right now. That's amazing. As a Taika Waititi fan, hell yeah. Hell yeah. As a Star Wars fan, I'm like, is that really the guy? Is that you know what? I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop right there and take a sip of this Taylor Lane organic coffee, official coffee of the morning streams here on the Den of Nerds. Oh, yeah. You know what? That's it. I'm not done. Listen. If we had Favreau come out and say, I got it, fam. I'm in charge now. I can, if we had that announcement first, then the Taika announcement is way easier to accept. Taika himself said in the documentary series that it's great having John and Dave around because they keep me from straying too far out of the lane. That's him saying himself. And we get the Taika announcement, and like, who's got the reins? Who's got the reins? Is John involved in the leadership of Lucasfilm or not? Is Dave going to be involved in the next series of films or not? We have no idea. Anyway, guys, let's shift focus into something a little bit more serious. I want to drop another link into the chat, and this is it. Look, if you can support, the world is crazy right now. There's things that are happening all over the supply chain shutting down, craziness, this, that, and the other thing. It's insanity. But there were already parts of the world that were hurting, and there were people trying to help people that honestly, their struggle is real, and it's not sexy enough to get primeline spots on CNN, MSNBC, or Fox. Of course, what is going on right now is a serious thing. It needs to be talked about. We need to figure it out. We need to get some fucking accurate data. But there were already things happening in the world that were really bad and just weren't sexy to talk about. A lot of those things were happening in Africa. Swarms of locusts at a biblical proportion, wiping out the food supply for millions of people. It's not sexy enough. CNN ain't gonna talk about it. Fox ain't gonna talk about it. And we're not really gonna talk about it either. But I want to drop this link because there's a great organization here where Christian ministries are helping people out in Africa, and they need your help more now than ever. If you've got a little bit of loot lying around, consider clicking that link and helping those people out. One of our producers, Maverick Pilgrim, he has close ties to this organization. This is something he deeply cares about. He's a part of the family. I'm going to donate. If you guys got some loot, you want to help this out, it's a good cause. It's a good cause. But now we can get back to ranting about Star Wars and talking about that if you would like, okay? But seriously, click that link if you can. A little bit goes a long way. Honestly, it's crazy. Like, literally, I think Mav was telling me like $200 can feed an entire village for weeks, maybe a month. It's insanity. Myrtle spent all my extra loot on comics from Walmart. I saw that. I saw a little bit of that on Twitter. Trinity, I had some people reach out to me and ask me if you were okay because of that like meltdown you had on your stream the other day when you were like had the identity crisis between you and Myrtle. Rob Van Cam says, has anybody watched Russian Doll? It is really great, in my opinion. Honestly, I've heard it's really good. I've heard it's really, really good. I'm in Atlanta, CDC says. We are about done with all this stuff. Yeah, man, I hope so. Like, I think, I know, Trinity, right? I had several people reach out to me, and some of them I haven't gotten back to yet, but I'm going to assume you're okay. I'm going to assume you're okay. Yeah, I've heard that show's great, man. I have heard that show is pretty great. I'm just so antsy with this Star Wars news, man. I'm just so antsy with it. It's like, come on. Like, I love Star Wars. Don't you guys understand? I love Star Wars. I don't want this to be happening anymore. I want to go back to 2015, 2016, when that Christmas after The Force Awakens came out, you couldn't go into a single store without Star Wars everywhere. Everybody's buying Star Wars stuff. Star Wars was so cool. All the normies were coming up to your boy Josh and being like, hey, man, you're fucking nerdy as shit. Tell me about Star Wars. I don't know much. I liked the movie. Those were good times. Mandalorian had that effect as well, by the way. people that didn't even like Star Wars checking out The Mandalorian, loving it. Hell yeah. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, John. And thank you, Kathy. Can't forget. Kathy played a big role. You might want to forget it. You might not want to accept it, but Kathy played a big role there. Are you triggered? It's like we can't even be real, man. Everybody's got their narrative. Everybody's got their team. Everybody's got their list of things. Jesus Christ. Star Wars Santa, I just started a channel and have been working hard to get my computer and camera stuff running. Haven't filmed yet. We should stream together in a few days sometime. You should absolutely do that. Look, Star Wars Santa is like, in a lot of ways, he encompasses the positivity I wish I was able to have. I want Star Wars Santa to come on this show. I want Star Wars Santa to come on this show and calm me down. We should have a little thing where it's like, if I get too crazy, we have a Star Wars Santa hotline where Star Wars Santa calls in and is like, ho, 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 calm down, Josh. Here's all the great things about Star Wars. And then I can be like, yeah, you're right. Shit, good point. Damn. I like what you said there. And he's got a really calming presence and voice, too. Wouldn't that be awesome? Call it the Star Wars Santa hotline. Amen, dude. Amen. That's just a great segment to have, just in general, too. We should have a hotline. Chet, why don't we have a hotline? Why don't we have a hotline where people can call in and then we can listen to their messages and people can send funny things in. People can dog on you, shit like that. Wouldn't that be awesome? Hearing Josh talk about my dad is so weird. Music Major, is Star Wars Santa your dad? How does that work? Like, are you going to take over for Santa someday? Are you one of the elves? Like, what? How's that work? Owen, I'm so sorry. I saw your questions. And yeah, I do think that Ghost Rider could be played by Keanu Reeves. I watched a little bit of Adam's stream yesterday. Adam from Fanjecture does a stream at 9 a.m., guys. We've got this, like, sort of awesome, I forget what Adam calls it. I need to get that video he has and have it play as our outro as well. The Blockbuster morning hour or something like that. And so Adam from Fanjecture goes live at 9. We've got the 10 o'clock slot. And then, of course, Trinity at 2nd Street Marvel rocks it out at 11. And I was listening to Adam, I think it was yesterday, on his stream talking about how Keanu Reeves kind of is Ghost Rider. He wears the leather. He does the bikes. He's got that attitude. Like, yeah. Keanu would be perfect for Ghost Rider. And if they got Keanu as Ghost Rider, I'd be like, okay, yeah, let's do a movie. Because my thoughts are like, really, a Ghost Rider movie? They've got a bajillion movies coming out. They got so many movies. I just heard this, by the way, I just want to let you guys know. I just heard a little voice in my head that said, but Josh, people say there's Star Wars fatigue, and yet Marvel cranks out a million frickin' things all the time. Maybe talk about that. No, voice in my head, I will not talk about that. We're going to keep it positive from here on out. But yeah, Keanu would be great. Code isn't working for Taylor Lane Coffee? What? Did you put in Nerds 10 with an S? I believe that's the code, right, Mav? You tried it all? Dang. We'll work on that. I don't know. Maybe it was taken down or something like that. I don't know. have to talk to Maverick about that, and we'll get in touch with the Taylor Lane peoples. Josh, what do you think about the possibility of Revan in the new canon leaving the Jedi and creating the Sith during the Old Republic? That's really cool. That's really cool, Freeman. I think that would be a twist. So here's my thing with Revan. I actually think you should keep the Revan stuff super vague. So, like, even if they go back and do the Old Republic, I wouldn't do Revan. I'd do after Revan and then sort of reference what happened to Revan and not really go there. Because, again, you're going to run into the same old problem with all these Star Wars fans that have these great attachments to the way Revan was, and it's never going to be better. And if you do it or you change it or you do something with it, it's like, ugh, you know? Why even open yourself up to that? Why not just vaguely reference? Here's what you do. Here's what I think you should do. Do an HD remake of KOTOR, but adjust it slightly. Say that it's canon. Reintroduce a bunch of people to it, but also have the old fans play it again and have some new experiences in there. Make some slight changes to it because you want to make it canon. And then just have people do that storyline again. And then reference that in whatever you do in the Old Republic live action. Don't do it. Reference it. All good, Mav. We'll get it sorted out. Just kind of stinks. It seems like we could have had a sale today, but you know what? Shit happens. I am not mad about it. I'm not mad about it. Well, shit happens. You know what I mean? Josh making it sound like the fans can't be passionate about Disney Star Wars. So, look, I know you're like joking a little bit and like, you know, trying to maybe get me fired up, but they kept Revan very secretive. Yeah. Darth Malak was the bigger one. Dude, Adam, it's so crazy you brought that up. I would literally go over and grab my copy of the Old Republic John Jackson Miller, which I bought at that same convention that I was talking to you about, where I got the comic book lessons from him. I would go grab it right now, but it would expose that I'm wearing gray sweatpants and not professionally, like, you know, in slacks or something like that. So I'm not going to do that. But, yeah, I agree. John Jackson Miller stuff is really cool. 188 free chat. Somebody disliked the stream. Yeah, no, I know you're kidding. But here's the deal on that. I don't even remember what you were talking about. The passion? Oh, yeah, no, this is what I was going to say. Trinity, here's the wild thing. I actually talked about this on the Patreon stream Monday. We did the Patreon stream Monday night on Star Wars. I said, look, Disney has... it is a tricky spot for me to be in because I have had some of the best Star Wars experiences of my life directly because of Disney. Directly because of them. Going to see The Force Awakens with, like, my buddies, man, and, like, creating bonds with new friends in Philadelphia because that was, like, the first year I was in Philly, and meeting people through that and that experience of Star Wars, and then, you know, we got really into it, man, and then we played some Star Wars games, and we were, like, loving it. Those experiences were great. Star Wars Celebration in Orlando. Meeting James Rosili and the Rebel Scum guys and just forging those bonds down there. Meeting some other amazing people. You know, I met a cosplayer who actually... Oh, man, I don't know if I can say this. I met one of my... Well, she hasn't really sourced anything for me in a long time, but I met a source that was giving me info about The Last Jedi in Orlando. I just met so many amazing people. And the Star Wars Celebration in Chicago, me, executive producer Al Schuler, who, by the way, gives everybody his love, but he's getting demolished at his day job. He works in healthcare, and right now things are just crazy for him, so he hasn't really been active on the channel, but he gives everybody his love. Executive producer Al Schuler, the meme master, the guy that runs our social media, Ken Colon, and my best friend Angelo, Man, did we have a good time at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago. It was awesome. So I've had some of the best Star Wars experiences of my life directly because of Disney. Right? So it's hard for me to really I'm not going to condemn them. I'm not sitting here saying they have an agenda to ruin Star Wars. First of all, that's stupid. A major corporation has an agenda to devalue one of their most valuable IPs. Yeah, that sounds right. But at the same time, I can't just be one of these people that hand waves away all of the issues and the problems that I see. Their PR is like one of their biggest problems. Their PR and their leadership. Look, I'm sorry to say it. It's the leadership. From what I understand behind the scenes, Kathy Kennedy is an amazing person, an amazing producer, a great boss, a kind soul, and she's got to fucking go. Like, dude, she's got to go. Like, I'm sorry. She's got to go. She's got to go. That's it. That's it. If Disney hadn't bought Star Wars, do you think there would even be Star Wars today? Yes, Marvel Maniac. And the reason is because... All right, I'm going to give you a little bit of inside baseball here. Technically, I'm not supposed to talk about this. What are you going to do? Take away my shield checks? By the way, no shield checks since all this crazy stuff happened. I got the call. You know, Bob Iger was like, yeah, sorry, everybody's getting furloughed. You know, we're all taking pay cuts. No more shield checks. I instantly started talking shit on Star Wars after that, by the way. So, I know for a fact there would have been Star Wars whether or not Disney purchased Star Wars because Lucasfilm was hurting financially. And so do you guys remember when there were all those stories about how Carrie Fisher had been approached by George, Mark Hamill had been approached by George, they had plans for the new movies, and then there's like radio silence. Then they don't hear from George. Well, the whole reason was because basically Lucasfilm was in a position where they were like, we need to make some freaking money. And so George was going to come back and he was going to do more Star Wars. Straight out of shield checks, baby. Amen. So yeah, that's my take on it. I think that we would have gotten Star Wars no matter what. Now, when I think about like what George would have done with Star Wars, like I don't know. I don't even know if I want to speculate, but like George is so crazy, dude. He's such a crazy dude. He's such a crazy dude, and he really doesn't care. Like I admire his ability just to not give a shit. You know, like George is awesome. I'm a fan. KK has to go because I think the most popular thing in the world could be more popular. Oof, aggressively relaxing. That hurts. That cuts deep. That cuts deep, dog. Well said. But you're right. That's pretty much exactly what I'm saying. But yeah. How long do you think Bob Iger will stay as CEO? He is not CEO. Bob Chapek is the CEO of Disney. Bob Iger is... What's his official title? Chairman? I think. Adam can probably help me out with this. Bob Iger's official title, I believe, is Chairman of Disney Princesses or something like that. Yeah, so Bob is not CEO. He's only come back to take a more active role in some of the things that Chapek is doing. But like for instance, the investor call that happened just the other day, that was Chapek. Like Chapek did that. There was a little bit of Bob Iger there, and he was in this sweater, just kind of chilling, just like, hey, I'm still here, everybody. Don't freak out. And now here's Bob Chapek. And then Chapek comes on and gives everybody the bad news. Where's the shill gift shop? That's funny, man. We should do something like that. You know what I mean? We should do something like that just to be like a little bit more self-aware. Kendall says, hey, Josh, I asked this yesterday at the end of the stream, but do you think the MCU Disney Plus series will become more like comic issues for individual characters, saving the theater for major events? I like where your head is at with that, Kendall. That's very similar to the way I view them as well, where it's like your solo series versus your big event films. I think you might be totally onto something there, man. The individual story that then gets paid off in the big event, yeah. Totally see where you're coming there. Aggressively relaxing says, I'm not right, just making fun of your premise. I mean, look, it's fair. It's a fair criticism. I will say, though, that there is actually a lot of data to suggest that the popularity peaked in a lot of different ways and went down in a way that's just, it's undeniable. We went over this. I remember when I did this, I made the mistake of pulling up Google Trends and trying to explain to people why in the data, Star Wars was definitely waning in popularity. And in the data, it appeared that The Rise of Skywalker would not make the money that its predecessors did. I tried to show everybody that in the data. And then we had a bunch of people, which is like no offense to everybody, but then we had a bunch of people think that they could just go figure out Google Trends and prove that I'm wrong. I work in analytics every day. You know what I mean? So like, it was interesting to watch people that had never that had never been on Google Trends go to the website, type a few things in, show me some graphs, and tell me I was wrong. Again, no offense. You don't know what you're doing. It was clear in the data. And by the way, Disney had access to data that was like way more clear than my shit. Why do you think Disney was trying to curb people's expectations for the box office for The Rise of Skywalker? Themselves. Their own shareholders. Why do you think that was? Because they had the data. They knew what was happening. So I do see what you're saying. My thing is, there is clearly a waning rather than a gaining in the popularity of Star Wars. As a big Star Wars fan, breaks my heart. Breaks my heart, man. Can I bring up something totally random, guys? And then Trinity will be on soon, and we can go hang out over on Trinity's stream. But let me bring up something completely ridiculous. It has nothing to do with what we were talking about, but I just find it fascinating. Are you ready? I can't believe that Adele is so skinny. I can't believe that Adele is so skinny. And there are people out there saying they don't want people to praise Adele for getting skinny because it's somehow fat shaming or something like that. Can we get into this? Can we get really weird on this shit? Like what? Like that whole thing? That whole deal? Having trouble wrapping my head around that one, man. I was thinking about, right before we came on today, I was thinking about this. With how crazy... Exactly, Adam. You did this. You did this. You did this. Dude, Star Wars Santa, I like your kid, man. I like music major. This guy seems all right to me. Okay. I was thinking about this before we came on today. I was thinking about how with all the bizarre crap in the world and how many people getting caught with their foot in their mouths, you know, and I'm not going to go into the specific examples, you know, we keep it pretty chill here. But with all the things that are happening where people take a strong stand and all of a sudden we find out they're a dirtbag, or people feel really strongly about this thing, but then they actually do this thing that's really bad, or, hey, people want to stand up for this thing and then we find out that maybe that's not the best thing. What I would take away from all this and what I've personally taken away is maybe wait to comment on shit. Maybe don't be in a rush to get your opinion out about this thing that's happening in the world. It's almost like I think the lesson people should be taking away is the world is a complex, confusing place with a bunch of seeming contradictions. Perhaps instead of me making definitive statements about how I feel about all of these things that are hot button topics, perhaps I should move cautiously through this space. Perhaps I should not make definitive statements and be open. Oh, you're a girl? Now I feel terrible. Perhaps I should feel open to all sorts of different possibilities about the things that I think I know shit about. You know? Why isn't the world going in that direction? Like, why aren't more of us being like, I'm going to wait to comment on this, or if I do comment about it, I'm going to make sure everyone knows that we don't have all the information and we can't possibly know definitively what the right course of action is. And instead, it really feels like the world is like more than ever determined to put on display their hot take about every little freaking thing. It's wild. Like, I just, like, even this Adele thing, right? Like, why can't you come out and say, hey, man, for me personally, I think good for Adele. I think for me personally, that I think she looks much better and she'll probably be much healthier. And, like, that's just how I feel. It's not a definitive statement about who I am as a person and how I feel about all of these different groups. You know what I mean? Like, why is that? How? I don't see how anybody gets any actual conversation done in the environment that we were in. And it's like, it's blowing me away, dude. It's blowing me away. But that's been you know what, Chet? We need a new segment called Quarantine-Induced Ramblings. You know, with like a nice catchy like Quarantine-Induced Ramblings, you know, something like that. And then some things pop up and then I can talk about like the most ridiculous stuff like this that I just went into. You know what I mean? But I think that like the reason I just felt comfortable bringing it up here is because like we're all pretty much on the same page where it's like, yeah, like we're just here to talk about it. We're not going to like hold it against each other. We're not going to make these crazy statements definitively saying what's right and what's wrong, you know? Like I feel like as a community we're all pretty open to stuff, but it's just blowing me away. Like I saw that go on and I'm just like what is happening? Like I need a nap. When I saw that, I was like, I need a nap. Me and Star Wars, we both need a nap. We're just going to rest. We're just going to rest this off, and then we'll come back fresh. You know what I mean? Chet, is Trinity up yet? By the way, guys, we're going to have Lonely Banner. LB from the Lonely Banner will be on the show next week. I want to have him in rotation as one of our regular guests as well. I love, like, honestly, I haven't watched a ton of LB's stuff, but I love his branding. He seems so on brand with all these different things that he does, man. It's really cool. Trinity's not exactly live yet. Stormbreaker. No, there's no gaming stream. Look, I can talk more about this later, but I support not fat people. Angus. I don't think we're going to look, we can talk about the gaming thing later, but honestly, I had this thing this week where I thought to myself, I think I might be trying to do a little too much. I think I might be trying to do a little bit too much, and I think the content on the main channel is suffering because I'm trying to do a little too much. So I don't know if we're going to do the Twitch. I don't know if we're going to make Twitch and gaming a big priority, at least not until we get some other things rolling. Are the teams for trivia set? Dude, the teams for trivia are so close. We're so close. And the names are really cool, too. Where's my list? We're so close to getting the teams finalized. Ah, shit. I don't know where my list is at. But, yeah, dude, we're so close. Nah, but that's all good, Stormbreaker. My thing is this. The website, the trivia, the workflow of the streams and the videos, that has to be... Yeah. No, I know, Burke the Nerd, I've got you on the official list. I went into the Discord, and did I not email you yesterday, Corey? Man, I wish I had my list on me. Yeah, Burke, the Nerd, Star Wars Santa. That's your team in Audio, and then somebody else that was in the... No, you didn't get an email yet. No, Jason, but I have you, Trev. Or wait a minute. Wait a minute. Jason, what team are you? Are you Slipper Clan? You're the Slipper Clan, right? Okay, yeah, you guys are the Slipper Clan. So we've got 3 different teams that came from the Discord. There's Trev, Stormbreaker, Blackman, Lavas, and Smoke. And then you guys are the Slipper Clan. And then we got Burke the Nerd, Star Wars Santa, Audio, and someone else on that team. We got the Ultimate Nullifiers. The Guardians of the Triviaverse. Yeah, so you guys got to come up with a cool name. But no, we're close. We're close on the teams. We're really close on the teams. Hayden Christensen as Dr. Doom. Yeah. Do I need to be here live for trivia? Trivia will be going down live. Yes, it will be on this channel, and it will be going down live. XR-Kun, I got to find my list, but I've got you. Because you were a solo entry, correct? Because there's a bunch of people that hit me up in solos, and I think we're going to make at least 2 teams out of the solo people. I'm going to group them together, and I believe you are on one of those teams. Now, look, we're really close, but what we might do, because I think we're going to keep it to 8 different teams, and we're going to have a reserve team. So you might be on... I think you will be on one of the main teams, but some of the people that were solos are going to be on a reserve team just in case one of the teams drops out or we don't hear from them or something like that, right? And we're going to do multiple seasons of this. So this is just the first season. So the new season, the next season, will have... all right, Corey, I got you, man. I'll check it out today. I went over emails and stuff yesterday, but we'll get it rocking. We'll get it rocking, man. If you don't get into this season, you will get into another season. You know, this is sort of a test in a lot of different ways, this first season. But it's going to be dope, man. I'm excited. I might wear a blazer. I might put a blazer on. Take it real serious, you know what I mean? Can't always be here live. Nah, I know, brother. I know. Those streams will be late, though. They're starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, hey, look, there is the hair works for game shows. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Can I just say, too, honestly, look, that's the link for Trinity's deal. Is Chet on a team? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, bro, you can't be on a team. Get out of here. And whatever you and Ryan are working on, it's scaring me. I walked in the other day. You were doing something. I didn't like it. And look, you guys both help us out a lot, man. You're some of my favorite people. But damn, you're ugly, Chet. Okay, so look. Let me put this link into the chat again. I think you're 16 hours behind me. That's rough, dude. Okay, so that's the link over to Trinity Stream. Head on over to Trinity Stream. But I just want to say the last thing here is it has been an absolute pleasure to wake up every day knowing that I will hang out with 100+ of my favorite nerds and just stream and talk about nerdy stuff with you guys. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for the support. Thanks for coming in here and hanging out. This is a weird time, man. It's a weird time for everyone. And I am so grateful to have had this stream and to be able to communicate with you guys and have fun in the morning. It's been great. So thank you for that, honestly. From you guys, I don't know if you'll know, you're helping me. Like, not the show, not the channel, not the business. You're helping me. It's been good for me to have this every morning with you guys, okay? So thank you. And head on over to Trinity's stream, man. Let's give them a lot of crap. And as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, guys, and I will see you in the